Okay, a few tweaks we want to apply to bump map. I want to add maybe additional layer, we'll do later, but for example, the bumps was strong, but I want specific, for example, I want a little bit deeper, but I don't want poke out strong. And some texture, if it's not optimized, they may create teeny tiny like needle spikes. So adding filters will help to us to minimize this. So right here we can set how strong is, and we can adjust, maybe create some like this, and on this case we flatten some of those peaks. So creating, on this case, we make almost half will cut off on this. So let's create and preview. And again, in some cases, it's very nice when you click and preview. And notice right here, you see those top ones, we cut and flatten them. So we cut some of the spikes that creating. I did very dramatic kind of half almost cut off. You don't need to do this, but it does give you idea if you have a texture that's very spiky, but you still want to use it as a bump map, you can always go inside the filters and adjust those filters to create kind of smoother or cut off some spikes in this case. So let's go back, bring a little bit up. Again, I don't want all the way, but I want a little bit reduce on the spikiness. Then next, let's actually maybe work on additional layers. So right here we have one layer. Now I want to create additional layer to apply to this. So I'm going to click and add layer. By default, you'll notice our bump map will be changed. So let's go check preview. And it will go a little bit smoother. And the reason is why, because it does apply add option. See, like our displacement is gone in this case. Because you notice right in the bottom we have it add to underline layer bump. So we want to actually go to add. This case will preserve some of these normal maps, what we're using inside the displacement production. Okay, let's go back to our top layer. Okay, as a top layer, we can use a different. And as I said before, if you want to export, you want to use it, map it. But for purpose of this tutorial, actually, I want to mix it them. So for example, we used image map for this. On the top one, I want to use actually mix. So I'm going to use natural grain. I'm going to edit this, and I'm going to create somewhat look like a moss almost. Right here. So we'll create some of this mix. Let's add a little bit of roughness and add gray. So some effect that moss will apply right here. Our alpha boost is a 0, so it's normal. We don't want to use any bumps because I want to apply what we have it. However, if you want it, you can always apply new ones, or let's just preload it. Example, we'll just go and preload one. Or we can use it one already preloaded. On this case, the bump map of the it can look like a moss will combine and overlay over our other textures. Also, it's kind of strong force. So I'm going to switch to 2. At this point, let's zoom out and preview our creation. So you can see we do create a little bit greener layer. However, right now we just overlay over. If we want to interact, we need to create additional properties, like for example, depend on the slope, so we can adjust this and create positioning of this green depending on slope if we want strong on the world of the object. So if you want to up, and other ones I actually like to use, it's a presence. So this way it's helped me to apply depend on a positioning. So for example, altitude I can take all the way down, and remember, oops, actually I want to leave it 1. I want to change from this, I want to change to highlight, so red color. So we can change also and apply it ways of what positioning you want, or the which point you want to place our green. So also, for example, I want on the bottom this way, and let's create fastness, just pop up a little bit more. We can preview how it's created. Okay, and you know what? Let's go enable normals. Okay, right here, so we can see displacement, how it's going. Again, even it's applied displacement, but it's not totally accurate. Okay, I think this will work fine. Okay, and we also want to be sure it is range says by object. So you can do by the material if it's based on an image or other object, but however, by the object, it will apply on the size of the object. One thing to remember about this properties by the object, if I have a tree which is same species but very long, it will calculate and give it moss up to here. If I have it very small, it's give it down below. So beware of this. If you want to keep it the same level for everyone, you want to use it relative to the sea. Maybe its position on the plants, that plants closer to the water will have it all green. Up in the mountains don't have it. Absolute, it just will set for every plant, will calculate in the same, how say, or by material based. So in this case, I'm going to use it by the object. So it's meaning the taller tree will have it higher and the smaller will have it a little bit. Okay, fuzziness, slope, I will keep it slope same right now, so it's not affecting on the slope, but prefer orientation, I'll go put it maybe a little bit more on the side. Okay. So now we disable, let's preview. Okay, and as render you can see, let's go here, that we have our normal trunk and we start adding our green moss kind of start going on the bottom. So from this point, it start overlaying. Let's go to the bump and we'll just go to replace. In this case, render one more time so we can compare how it also can affect our bump. Okay, and you can preview in this case, before and after, you can see right here how it did affect a little bit of our position. So in our displacement and our texture. Again, this is just add to our make stronger, and right here smoother because applied. So if, for example, I want to create smooth, nice moss cover, I probably want to just go and replace it. So override some of this, create kind of nice smoother. But in this case, let's just go a little bit more to the add. Okay, we'll look on some properties on additional materials. Notice we also have all these options that allowed us for materials that we can apply additional highlights. For example, for the moss, we can go ahead and just create a bit more wet kind of looking for the moss, a little bit brighter. We can go on a default and reset, create warmer highlights, so they will look a little bit distinguished. Go bright, a little bit more dual to this color. Create even more around there. Okay, we also have it proper same like create transparency. If you want to create trunk some transparency reflective for the metals, we can use it translucity, and this is work very well if you want to have it like some fruits maybe, or some leaves, thick type of leaves but somewhat translucent. But beware when you're using these type of materials, it's take quite a bit time to render, so be careful on them. Okay, we also have it effects. As usual, we have it increased luminosity, contrast, and all properties. If we make a metal tree, it's like what I did with some covering, then we maybe want to use it some of this increasing. And we already look on some presence, it's positioning for this relatively to the material. Again, this is properties what we did just for one plant, for the tree. Notice right here, we also have it same options we can apply in UV body. So right here, we just modify this material. However, we can go and create all of this separate inside. So, and we'll look on this in the next, where we can create UV for the layers and other options directly inside the plant factory, and without going and use our editor, okay, our texture editor, this one. So without going inside and modify in these areas.